Announcing a 3-2 overtime win from Sir Otter and Sir Robertson. Stars win by a final score of 3-2 in the shootout. Welcome to Star Casting Remarks.
So cheesy.
Stars win once again, you guys. What a game. Before we get into the game tonight, we want to say thank you to everybody who joined us on the watch along, me and Chris. James wasn't able to be there, but we do appreciate everybody joining us there. We had a ton of fun. That was so much fun to watch. And before we get in any further, we say thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook for being our sponsor. Go and use the promo code THPN. Anyways, guys.
And we start off the show with GG's because it's a big win. GG boys.
There we go. There's the GG boys that everybody was looking for, Chris. So
what a crazy game.
Yeah, go for it, Chris. Talk.
The Stars should have won this game a million times over, and they do the Stars thing, and both the goals that the Golden Knights score are in the last minute of periods, the first and second respectively. Of course, because Dallas Stars. They play an amazing second period. That was their best period of the game, and they left that period without having won it because of the last second goal by Vegas. We go to the third, so much pressure and everything up until the 5-minute mark, can't bury it. And then Otter stands on his head at the end of the third to keep us in it, and in overtime Otter stands on his head. We go to overtime, and both goalies refuse to lose. And then our best player, Miro Heiskanen, finally buries one in the 7th round. And then Otter remains perfect on the shootout for tonight. And wow, that game was crazy. Stars get the 2 points that they needed. And honestly, that was exciting. I'm excited. But man, I'm terrified. We need 1 out of 4 points.
James, what do you think, bud? We didn't get to hear your thoughts all night. So what did you think about tonight's game?
Yeah, so I actually just listened to the game tonight, just on the ticket. It was still an absolutely fantastic game. Like it's so much fun listening or watching to these. It really that's a playoff game there. That is a
playoff game.
That is that's by far the craziest game of the season. It's by far going to be the craziest game of the entire week for all of the NHL. It was, and I actually did get back and I got to watch the shootout. So that was the best part for me. I got to watch the shootout. Awesome. And oh my goodness, Miro. Calm down, man. Oh my goodness.
That was dirt.
Oh, man.
It was insane.
No, yeah, Logan Thompson bit on it big time. And as soon as he did that, I knew it was going in the back of the net. I knew it.
And every Stars goal, including the shootout goal, were all beautiful. And they had to be because Thompson stopped everything else. Yeah. Literally everything.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Let's get into that guy because, I mean, if there's any big storyline that comes out of tonight's game is, yes, Robertson got 2 goals. Yes, Otter was huge in this third period especially, and in the overtime and in the shootout. But what about the overall play of Logan Thompson, a guy who has been called upon by a franchise to basically save their season, and he gave everything left he had in the tank? That was absolutely a pleasure to watch that guy work and what he did. So yeah, I mean, he better get a starting job, or at least a backup job next year. You don't need to go out and get another goalie. Laurent Brossoit can go away. This is the Logan Thompson and Robin Lehner show for Vegas. That was incredible.
And Otter had a great game too, but Thompson was doing it the entire game. I mean, Otter's third period and overtime were outstanding, but Thompson played a complete 100% awesome game. They were the only reason it was close. The Stars should have been ahead by $1 billion at that point, like I said.
Well, and obviously we should point out his biggest save, none bigger than the guy, as a Dallas Stars fan, that you want having the puck on a breakaway in overtime going down the ice, and he made it look pedestrian. He did. It was an amazing glove save. Just stuck it up there. took it away.
Oh yeah, and pull up Alex's comment. We forgot to mention he's injured in the dying embers of the overtime, and then goes 7 rounds in the shootout. Crazy play by Thompson.
You cannot doubt the heart and the soul and the play of that young man right there. 25 years old. He was in the AHL for most of the season. You know, Robin Leonard gets hurt. Laurent Brossoit gets hurt. They're both out for the season, and he gets thrust into a situation where he's being asked a lot, and he delivered as much as he possibly could. So, I mean, I cannot say any more gushing comments about the play of Logan Thompson tonight.
And we've gushed about Thompson. Moving on, we are going to gush about Robertson.
Oh, okay.
Huh?
All right.
Who?
I was saying Otter.
No, we're going to gush about Robertson.
Robertson first.
2 goals. Okay. The only person to score. His first goal was incredible. He undressed McNabb. The dude was naked on the rink. I mean, he literally fell. The dude fell down because of how bad Robertson outplayed him. And then the shot was just on the post and in the net. Unbelievable. The second one, perfect place, perfect pass shot, perfect deflection into the net. I mean, the Stars needed perfect goals to score on Thompson tonight, and Robertson had 2. And he reaches the full 40-goal mark, like we said he needed to if we were going to make it to the playoffs. And he's
right
the
now,
fourth.
It certainly looks like it.
The 4th Dallas Star ever to do that. He joins Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Mike Modano.
That's amazing.
And now Jason Robertson in his sophomore season.
Wow.
And Alex said it best. Biggest winner, Jason Robertson. Thompson played great. Robertson played better. He scored 2.
All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get into biggest winner and biggest loser. We've kind of already talked about some of the players tonight. I have to give my biggest winner to Logan Thompson tonight because of his play. This game was close, and it was amazing. So
I'll give mine to Robo for obvious reasons. James, who's your biggest winner? Can't be one of those 2.
Since I'm going in the spirit of the name of the podcast, okay, it's Luke Glendening for scoring a goal tonight. He got a goal tonight, man. He did it.
Oh man,
Luke Glenn. You know what? I'll take that segue. Biggest loser, Luke Glendening. He played the worst game he has played as a Dallas Star tonight. The best night to do it. He finishes the night. Check out these fire stats. Luke Glendening, -1. Great. The 1 penalty, which led to a goal. Great. Honestly, that penalty's trash, and I'm going to talk about the officiating here later. He has a 50% faceoff percentage, which for a guy who's not supposed to be his main thing is terrible. He obviously scores the first goal for the Knights. I mean, it wasn't even like, I don't even know what he's doing. Like, what does he think is going to happen when he deflects that puck? And if that gets through, it's just a jam shot on Otter, and he's going to save it. Mm-hmm. It's a terrible play. It's awful. And all over the ice, he's giving up chances. He's losing puck battles. He's doing the opposite of what Luke Glendening has to do. So he was terrible. Truly can't understate how bad he was.
And if you want a true winner from me, I'll steal Ardell's here. Michael Raffel being crazy physical tonight. He asks how many hits he gets on the night. He ends the night with 9 hits.
Wow.
Like, oh my
that's
goodness,
insane.
Man.
I'm going to eat crow again. Raffel was great. That hip check, that classic hip check was so sweet. I loved it, dude. It was so good.
I am glad that Pacioretty is okay, though. It looked like he was okay, and he played in the overtime. So we should mention that.
He was okay because it was a good hit. It was hip on hip. Perfect. Can't do it better. Awful. Raffel played amazing. He didn't play awful. Raffel played awesome. The alliteration doesn't work, though.
Yeah, I was about to say alliteration.
Who's your biggest loser, Ryan?
That's a good question because mine was going to be Luke Glendening, but that was kind of the obvious one. I can't really think of one.
I got one. Bennett Seguin.
Okay, go for it.
I got a lot of things I'm upset about. Bennett Seguin were non-existent in this game. And not even just non-existent, they were actively bad again. Seguin almost blew it in the overtime because he doesn't know where the puck is when it's between his skates. They almost scored on that. Unbelievable. No offensive chances from either of them. They had so much time on ice, especially in the third period. which was that was so frustrating. I hated that more than anything on the earth. Ben and Sagan each finished the night with about 20 minutes. Sagan has a minute more. Ben has a minute less. That beats Pavelski. That beats Hintz by a lot. And that beats Robertson by even more. Your time on ice leaders are Ben and Sagan, and they were bad. It's unbelievable. This team is, and I'm moving to another one, is terribly mismanaged, and Foxa takes a shootout attempt. And Nemestikov before our best player. So many reasons we should have lost this game. And, I'm so happy we won, and Otter kind of stole it at the end there. It was Robertson and Otter who stole it. But, man, there's a lot of reasons we could have and should have lost. And a lot of it is the veterans and the coach, which is supposed to be our strong point. So, I don't know. I'm done with the old Dallas Stars. I am all bought in on the new young guys. I'm all bought in on whatever new coach we want to bring in to help them play better. Whoever they want, they can pick. I mean, Jim Nill's done a terrible job of picking coaches, obviously. So let's let them pick. Man,
I thought
that's
of somebody.
Not even my last thing that I'm going to rant about.
Well, let me go ahead and do my biggest loser, and I'll let you rant about the officiating, Chris. Okay. I thought about one while you were going, because it's a lesser of a loser because he made up for it with one of the passes he made tonight on Robo's second goal. But John Klingberg, he had a couple of turnovers in tonight's game that he typically has, and it was frustrating to watch. But in his defense, he did make up for it. I mean, he was totally looking at Robo for that high tip. So I kind of can't get on to him for that, but I still would like to see better defensive play by him. That's all I'm saying.
He needs to handle the puck better.
I mean, really, that second goal from Robertson is like all Klingberg's too. It's like that is it is, yeah. They both got that goal. Robertson was staring at him all the way from the boards with his stick on the ice, and he's just looking for the pass. And he's like, he knows it's going to get to him too. That's the awesome thing. He knows that Klingberg can get it there. And
he was just like a catcher sticking his glove out. He put the stick there and he said, "Hit it."
And here's another thing by Bonus here that we could question about, and you actually mentioned this on the watch along, Chris, while we were watching. So this is from Alex, 4-on-4. This is to end the third period. Ben Sagan taking ozone face off, which is fine. They're the second line, whatever. Vegas ices it almost immediately, and then Bonus sends out Raffle and Glendening for the next ozone face-off. Why? Why, Chris?
I literally asked you that, didn't I?
Yeah.
I literally said, why did he do that? It's an idiotic decision. I mean, he saw their good players go out, and he's like, okay, let's put out the checking line. It's just stupid.
The only thing I would be okay with is if Glendening was out there and you had Robertson or Hintz to take a shot. So Glendening's out there just to win the face-off, just in case Hintz gets kicked out or something like that. I would understand that. But I don't understand why you would put both Raffle and Glendening out there 4-on-4, and it could have cost us the game. So let's go.
It's an idiotic decision.
I do have a biggest loser for tonight, actually.
Okay, go for it.
Mine is going to be secondary scoring, because in the last 20 goals that we have,
Yeah, give him the stat, James.
Okay,
Big
in the last 20 goals we have, 15 of them have been scored by that first line. That is 75% of the last 20 goals for the first line. And if we get any secondary scoring night, we win in regulation and we're in a playoff spot for sure.
That's the statement of the night right there, James.
That's a big point to make, and a great stat to point out too. Chris, let's go ahead and get into it. Ardell's already bringing it up. Robe was pissed at the refs. Can we hear Chris rant about NHL officiating tonight? What the Hades was that 4-on-4 crap call? Go ahead.
The officiating is ridiculous. The fact that the power plays are tied this game is asinine. The Stars played a great clean game all night long and were rewarded by having the same amount of power plays as the other team, which is ridiculous. They missed the first too many men on the ice call, which was, I mean, they literally had 6 guys and were playing the puck at the same time. I mean, that's I mean, that's the definition of the rule. That's a penalty you have to call, even if you decide you're swallowing the whistle. And they just missed it. In the third period, they missed another too many men on the ice. They missed a high stick on Klingberg that drew blood. Like they showed a close up on him on the bench. There was blood on his lip. That would have been a 4-minute power play with a to clinch the playoffs. And we don't get it. They miss a hook that would have led to an odd man rush going the other way. In overtime, what she's talking about with Rope, literally interference in the offensive zone. Like, and there's no other way to put it. He just flat out checked him. I mean, there's no other way you can put it. And I skipped the 1-for-1 call at the end of the third, which is ridiculous. There's no reason to insert yourself like that into that game. I mean, what did that do? It's the end of the game already. There's no reason to try and control the game when it's over. You already failed at your job by not calling penalties properly. So the officiating tonight was awful. They did not help this game. And the Stars deserved at least 3 power plays tonight, and they got none of them. And that could have been huge for momentum, and we're not even going to know. Because that first power play by the Stars was fine. Like, it was pretty good, especially compared to the ones we've been seeing.
Yeah, that's very true.
And we don't even get another chance, which is just wrong. I mean, we should have had plenty more chances tonight from that. And if this is the way the officiating is going to be in the playoffs, I mean, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, they don't call anything in the playoffs. Is what they do.
I didn't even
totally
mention,
different brand of hockey.
I didn't even mention they called the Glendening hook in the offensive zone for the weakest hook I've ever seen. By the rule book, that is a hook. He tapped him on the hands. Sure. But that's not what they called. They called that penalty right after letting the too many men on the ice call go. It's asinine. It's not consistent. It's wrong. The Stars were playing safer, and they don't get any reward for that. It honestly cost them. Like, they should have been playing more dirty and more aggressive, and they wouldn't have given up so many rushes the other way, I guess. But, I mean, they're just not calling the game, and that's the reason it got chippy at the end, too, because the refs aren't calling penalties.
Couple of comments here that are going on here in the chat over here. Alex saying Hintz should have drawn 2 more interference calls. He's also saying not like the power play would have scored. Eric agrees with him, and then Alex says the only way the power play scores is on the rush or off a faceoff. Here's my thoughts. I disagree with the second one. So not like the power play would have scored. I think tonight, with the atmosphere that they had, with the way that they played, I think there was a chance for them to score. And I think with that atmosphere, they could have scored here tonight. Now on the second one is on the rush or off of a faceoff. I would agree about 80% of that. 100% I would agree, especially to start off the power play. If they don't win the faceoff, it's really rough for them. Y'all talk
but we
about
will have faceoffs too. Right. So like, it's definitely going to give us a chance. And if we have 3, I bet we score on 1.
Yeah. And this was actually one of the things that the ticket talked about in their pregame. They got to talk to Bonus before the game started, and they asked him about like not having a lot of real practices since we've been playing like every other night pretty much. And Bonus made the point that not having a lot of practices hurts the power play a lot because you're not practicing getting the passes from your player's player. You're not moving the puck a lot. And especially since we weren't getting a lot of power plays in that span too, we were completely out of practice on the power play. So I kind of see like how our power play dropped as much as it did.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
All right. Who else do we need to talk about tonight? We gushed about Logan Thompson. Let's gush about Otter for a second.
Yeah,
I mean,
Otter was absolutely insane tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't
not as many big saves,
yeah,
but they were way more timely. I think that's exactly what you were about to say, Ryan.
Yeah.
But when we needed them, he showed them. They were great. Love the saves, especially in overtime too. He was so solid.
And no offense to Kari Lehtinen. I love the guy to death. He was a good star for a long time. But that was one of the faults of Kari Lehtinen in the playoffs, is the fact that, or even in really, really tough, tight games, and this kind of gets thrown on Freddie Anderson in Carolina a little bit too when he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs, was that the fact that he's such a great goaltender, but he's not clutch and he doesn't get you the big save in the moment when you need it. And that's what Jake Ottinger has been doing. So, I mean, and especially in this game, the third period and the overtime alone, he made his money. I mean, he made his paycheck in those 2 parts alone. He was solid in the first 2 periods. He was fantastic, absolutely mastodonic, to use a word out of Razor's vocabulary, in that 3rd period and overtime.
And we talked about it a little bit before the game too. That this is Otter's first real taste of the playoffs. I mean, he was in the bubble, but he was obviously just warming the bench. He was not getting into any game. Didn't matter what happened. Hoodman got blown out one game he didn't play. So this is his first real important game that he's playing in the NHL, and to see him respond in such a huge way in such a big moment late in the 3rd, that's what you want out of your rookie goaltender. That's a guy you can rely on and you can ride deep into the playoffs. And Razor said that in the post game, that's going to scare some people. If this guy is clutch in big games, a hot goaltender could mean a Stanley Cup victory. We've seen that numerous times, just a goaltender winning it on his own. And if that can be Otter, that would be crazy.
And that's exactly what I said here when I got home and saw him win in the shootout. I was like, that actually makes me hopeful for the playoffs. Despite all of our depth scoring problems and all the problems we've had on our power play and penalty kill recently, Otter being able to do that and show up in this game the way he did it, it's absolutely insane. And honestly, I thought this was probably one of his best games since March, too.
Oh, it was his best game, period.
No doubt. Maybe the Chicago game.
Maybe the Chicago.
Yeah. Well, you're also forgetting the Avalanche game he played.
And the Avalanche game.
See, we're bringing these up, and he's had multiple games this year where he's stolen games. He's been fantastic in the 3rd period and overtime tonight, and it does make me hopeful for the playoffs. And you know what? I'll eat my words. Couple months ago, when the Stars had that really terrible 4-0 loss against the Toronto Maple Leafs, I said that this team was not going to make the playoffs, and we are 1 point away. They still can miss it. It's very unlikely at this point, but they're 1 point away. That's the magic number for them getting into the playoffs, whether they get that point by winning or whether Vegas loses that point. So we'll see what happens. Chris, we can't hear you, bud. Yep. Go out and come back in. Anyways, James, what did you think about the Stars' chances if we have to play against Colorado or if we have to play against Calgary? And who would you rather see?
I mean, the obvious choice is we want to see Calgary. I mean, their offense is still really good, but they're essentially just like us where their top line pretty much does all of it. And with the way we play and just being able to I really think the Stars would be so annoying in a playoff series. With the way they play defensively and they just try to strangle you and choke you out. Playing that game after game, it's really going to be interesting to see in the playoffs. And
y'all are jinxing us.
Yeah,
y'all
make it to the playoffs. And the nice thing is, even if we make the playoffs and we end up having to play the Avalanche, I mean, we have 2 of the Avalanche's 17 regulation losses. We've won 2 games against them in regulation, and they've only had 17 of those. So we still match up pretty good against the Avalanche. Obviously, we don't want to play them, though.
I am stopping this right now. I will not stand for this any longer. The Stars have not clinched a playoff spot. We are not in the playoffs. We have 4 points available, and we need 1 of them. We can lose the last 2 games as long as we lose good. And Ryan said it's super unlikely that we're going to miss the playoffs. Well, if any team is going to complete the super unlikely and lose their way out of the playoffs, which team is it going to be?
Well, now who's jinxing, huh? Now who's jinxing? You are.
Check out Swanson, man. What do you think I'm trying to do? The Stars are going to do it. So stop everything. Tomorrow night we're playing the Yotes. The Yotes they beat who did they beat, James? They just beat Minnesota. And they played tonight as well. Both teams are going to be on a back-to-back. You have to get the point tomorrow. That's it. We don't want to go to the last game of the season and say we need a point or we need Vegas to lose. Mm-hmm. That is the worst case scenario, honestly. So wipe this out of your brain and go beat a bad team who is tired. Because
who should be very tired.
Should be very tired. We're the last team in the league who is in a playoff spot that is not clinched. And I am not comfortable. Y'all sound comfortable. I am not. Now we can move along.
I'm so comfortable, but yeah, but you're absolutely right, Chris. And we talked about this at the beginning of our watch along on THPN YouTube channel, and the fact that 11 years ago, Stars, all they had to do was beat Minnesota in one game at the end of the year in any form or fashion, and they would have gone to the NHL playoffs that year. But they didn't, and they lost the game. No playoffs that year. So that possibility is still there. I'm just very excited in the fact that it's very unlikely at this point.
Yeah.
So
okay. Now we can look up.
Okay.
Yes, we want to play the Flames. James is correct. The Flames is a better matchup.
It's not even a question.
It's not even a question.
It's not a question. There's a right and wrong. James is right. So we're tied right now. The Preds and the Preds have the tiebreaker. So if we win out and the Preds win out, we're stuck with Colorado. So that's not ideal. But Preds also play 2 tough games coming down to the wire. Go ahead, James. Sorry.
They play one tough game, really. They play a game against the Avalanche, and then they get an easy one against the Arizona Coyotes. So really, we to be able to get to that first playoffs, into that first wild card spot, we really want to win against these next 2 bad teams, which we should. We should. I hate saying that. We should. Please.
We should.
Especially after this game. Please.
Please.
I don't, and I forgot who said it earlier. I think it might have been Alex who was like, as much as I love the fact that they won tonight in a shootout, I don't know how much more my heart can take if the Stars do this in the playoffs. So,
yeah.
Or even in the next 2 games.
Yeah. I really think this is what the playoffs is going to look like for the Stars too.
Yeah. Pull up Andrew's comment from Facebook for me real quick. It's about being confident in the Stars beating Colorado. I'm kind of confident they can beat Colorado. Like, of any 8th seed wildcard team, like, the Stars are the ones to beat Colorado. Like, honestly. Of anyone. Like, the Preds I think, would get destroyed. The Knights would get destroyed. I think the Stars have the best chance out of those teams that are in the bottom. So, I am confident that they could beat either of those top-seeded teams, and I do think this team is built for the playoffs. And if Otter can keep making clutch saves like he did tonight, I mean, I know it's classic Stars talk who are in and out all the time, but all you have to do is get in and you have a chance. And man, we got to get in. We got to get in tomorrow, please.
Wouldn't that be a thing for us to get the last playoff spot and then go on a Los Angeles Kings run? 8th seed in the West and win the cup. It's been done before. And
recently.
Fairly recently. That was only 2014, I believe. So less than 10 years ago that the Los Angeles Kings did that, and nobody expected it. And then a while ago, I believe it was the Edmonton Oilers who went on a Stanley Cup Finals run. They didn't win the Stanley Cup, but they did go on a Stanley Cup run, and they were the 8th seed as well, and they pushed whoever they played to 6 games. So it's possible.
And I mean, literally last year, who was in the Stanley Cup Finals? The Montreal Canadiens
didn't even win half their games.
They're the bottom of the league now.
Yeah. Well, in their defense, though, a lot of things went wrong.
That's fair.
Like a lot of things went wrong.
The most things that could ever go wrong in one season.
I mean,
or one off season even.
Yeah, your captain is basically done. Jay Weber, he's done. Carey Price goes through a severe period in his life. And you lose Kotkaniemi to a $6 million offer sheet. You go out and get Christian Dvorak to help you be better. He does absolutely nothing. I mean, it really Cole Caulfield starts off the season terribly after having a really good playoff. I mean, everything that could have gone wrong with Montreal went wrong. So,
and just wanted to bring up that Carey Price. He did come back, and he's played a couple of games now. He's still freaking insane, dude. That dude is not fair.
He's a great goalie.
Here it is. Okay, we ready to actually get into the game summary? We'll do this kind of quick since we talked for so long.
We'll do some highlights, game summary stuff.
Okay, first Stars power play right off the bat. They would get a power play because of a Nick Waugh penalty. Couple of shots, but not much. The Stars did have a good power play, though. Overall, Vegas kills it. Thompson would make his first of many saves. There's a 3-on-1 for Vegas. 5 minutes in, 5-1 in shots for the Stars. First ozone pressure for Vegas in the game was at the 12:48 mark. So for the first 7 minutes, the Stars were by far the better team. Way by far the better team. And they were spending most of the time for that first 7 minutes in the Vegas zone. By the way, y'all just jump in and just, and just jump in whenever. Okay. So anyway, Amadio would have a chance. And then as the first period would go on, Vegas would get better. And finally start to make the game more 50-50 rather than the Stars dominating. Raffle had a good stick there. He had 2 really good defensive plays. Robo tries to go 5-hole. Thompson makes the save. Karlstrom gets absolutely destroyed by Brady McNabb. He takes a hard one. Poor hit on the rookie there. Vegas with a 2-on-1, but they're not able to get a shot off. And then finally, the flukiest goal that you will ever see in the entire world. Vegas goes up 1-0 thanks to Luke Glendening. But it's actually credited to William Carrier. And going into the first intermission, the Stars are down 1-0 in a period that's really unfortunate that the Stars were down 1-0 in. What did y'all think of the first?
I mean, the Stars were outplayed in the first. So that was their worst period, and that was the best period for the Knights. And I think the Knights actually did a really good job of coming back in that period because the Stars started hot with help from the power play, and the Knights powered back, and they played a great period, and the Stars almost survived, and then bad play by Glendening, allowing that Carrier goal.
Yeah. Literally, as soon as you said it, it popped up. That is so weird. Brandon knows you too well now.
But
get out of my head, dude.
It's so annoying though because it happens so often recently. Like we score on ourselves all the time recently. I mean,
it's too much.
Lindell did it when he first came back. He scored 2 in the same game against himself. Fox has done it already before. Glendening's done it a couple of times as well.
He's done like 3 in the last 8 games.
At least there's 2 I can remember.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. If we're gonna get all of our bad luck out now, I'll take it. But if this continues into the playoffs, we are in deep trouble.
Well, like you can do something about it too. You just don't defend in the middle in front of the net. That's how they all go in.
Right.
I mean, don't do that.
And in Glendening's defense too, I mean, it couldn't have been poked better.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been. It was literally the one. It was like the one lane that it could have gone in to actually be scored. So call it a fluke. Anyways, Vegas is up 1-0. Stars had the better start to the period. Vegas got better as the period went on.
And to be fair, Vegas deserved to be up 1-0-2.
They did. They had a lot of good chances there and towards the end of the first period. Whatever. But I think you hit this on the nail really well, Chris, when we were in the second intermission. Second period was the exact opposite of the first. So in the first, the Stars started better and Vegas started playing better. In the second, it was Vegas who really started well, and then the Stars started gaining back momentum from them. Is that a fair assessment?
Yep, definitely. I said it. It sounds genius the second time too.
And that's the problem with letting in a late period goal. They bring it into the next period, and that's why you can't let in those goals.
And that's why you always talk about them, James. You and your beautiful face,
with the smile and everything. All right. Second period here, not many notes. Most ozone pressure coming from Vegas early in the third. Marchessault would get a shot. Otter make the save. A small biggest winner, if that makes any sense, to Thomas Harley tonight. Thomas Harley had a really good game.
He did have a good game.
He had a really good defensive play there 5 minutes in on Eichel, and then he had another great defensive play on a 3-on-1 that could have been really bad for the Stars. So Harley with 2 great defensive plays there in the first half of the second period. 12:38 mark. Thompson is just standing tall, just staving everything at this point for the Stars. Stars are starting to get some momentum back. Stone would shoot wide. Kiwi would have a chance. His goes wide. And then finally, Robertson in his beautiful face scores his first of the game, which would eventually be the second of the game. He gets his 39th of the year, which makes me question, can he get to 40? And what did y'all think of the first Robertson goal that went over the pad under the glove of Logan Thompson?
We already talked about it a little bit. It was just nasty. That's a hat pick.
He's insane, man.
So Hens' shot would go wide. 2.5 minutes remaining. Sagan's shot would ride. Sagan's shot would ride somebody else's stick and would go high. Excuse me if I can talk. 2-on-1 for Henson Robo. Great save by Logan Thompson there. I just started calling him LT. Eichel goes around, and Eichel was doing everything in his power to try and will the Golden Knights to a win tonight. So, another really big shout out to Jack Eichel tonight. Glendening would take a penalty. It was the first Vegas power play of the game. And unfortunately, with this game being at 1-1, Vegas would score with 2 seconds remaining in the second period. It was Chandler Stevenson with Otter way out of his net, out of position. I guess he was trying to be aggressive on the play, which I can't fault him for. But nonetheless, Stevenson makes the Golden Knights go up 2-1.
Yeah, we already talked about it, but that's a terrible call. I mean, the officiating this game, I'll just give it one last mention. It sucked. It was awful. It can't be like that in the playoffs.
So, what did y'all think overall of the play there in the second period?
I thought that was the Stars' best period, like I mentioned earlier, and they did the most Dallas Stars thing ever, and they didn't win it. It ended tied 1-1 because of a last-second goal, and that can't happen. That's James's least favorite thing. Can't make James angry.
It is my least favorite thing. I hate those goals. I hate them so much. Especially when you're like, as a fan, even too, you're like, okay, we made it. We came back and we tied the game. And then the period's closing out 3-2 goal. Dang it, we're down.
Yeah. And then as a fan, you have to sit there for 17 minutes
and wonder why they
your
did
team
that.
allowed the goal.
Right, yeah.
It's so awful.
Yeah, and we talked about that on the watch along too, Chris. That was something I mentioned. Like, you have to sit there and stew. That was the word I used. Just stew about it for 17 minutes and just think, if only we had scored a goal, or if only it had just been, 2 seconds later and that goal had gone in after the buzzer or something like that. And that can be really harmful. It can be really harmful mentally and the mental side of the game. And thankfully it didn't hurt us all that much tonight, but it could have been really bad. So we just got to stop doing it. Third period goes on. Raffle would launch Mark Stone right off the bat within the first minute. It was a great hit by Raffle, one of his 9 hits he would have on the night, which we already talked about. I wrote back and forth to begin the third, so it's very different from the first and the second that both teams are getting chances both ways and playing really well. Pavelski would have a shot. Logan Thompson says no. There's a tip by Robo. It was a Klingberg shot pass, and Robertson gets his second of the game, his 40th of the year, and it ties the game early on in the period. And again, not just the fact that it's the 40th goal, it's a timely goal, and it allows the Stars to go for the win. How big was that goal by Jason Robertson there?
Crazy huge. And it's great to have it happen in the beginning of the period too, because I feel like the Stars get in their heads whenever stuff like that happens. Because they started the period, first of all, pressing hard, which was great. And I feel like when they get in their heads, when they're pressing hard and they're not getting anything, it just like compounds, like there's no chance that they're going to score. So very huge that they got it early, and it also gives us the chance to clinch the playoff spot, which we end up not doing, but still nice to have that chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane that only our first line can score right now. It's so sad that no one else is scoring. I mean, we literally have we have Tyler Sagan and Jamie Benn, and they haven't scored in quite a few games, it feels like now. And there's one thing that they always talk about on the ticket, and it's how long it's been since a lot of different players have scored. And they always talk about it being so depressing because there's so many long streaks on the Stars where just people just don't score for many games in a row. Like when was the last time Gurry scored, or when was the last time Ben scored, or
I don't even know.
Kiviranta hasn't scored in however many games, and
well, I know
those are all supposed to be offensive guys too.
Yeah. It's insane. It's
like that's their
maybe
job.
Kiviranta kind of not, but the other guys,
we
yes,
expected that from him.
He should have
his
more
skill
than
set
one
should be
goal in the
offensive.
season.
He should have more than one goal. Yes, I agree. And you know, I know he got the shootout winner tonight, but Miro Heiskanen, when was the last time he scored? It was before Christmas.
Yeah,
well,
and
I've been mad
since
I've been mad all podcast. I've been mad all podcast. This is the optimism. We've saved all of them for the playoffs.
That's my type of philosophy, Chris. I like it.
That's the only answer. And now we're just going to have like 4 30-goal scorers only in the playoffs, and none of them are going to be the top line. It's going to be great.
We'll see. Well, anyway, so Robertson ties the game for the Dallas Stars. Sagan would have a really good defensive play right after that. Foxa would force a turnover in the offensive zone, which would allow the Stars to get 3 good scoring chances. So good play by Roddick Foxa there. Shots are 23-20 for Dallas at this point. That would change very quickly.
And that's what we want from that line too. We want them to take their best team or their best line, and we want them to play in their zone while they're on the ice. Waste all their time in their zone. They don't get to play the puck in the offensive zone.
Right. The checking line in general played good. Just Glendening sucked, which was crazy. It's crazy for one guy on that line to be so bad.
Well, and it's weird because he's normally pretty solid defensively, and he's had. I mean, I forget which game it was exactly, but he looked like a freaking offensive machine, getting chance after chance with that one.
He scored more goals than Ben Sagan and Hintz.
Yeah,
not Hintz. Heiskanen.
Heiskanen, yeah. But anyways, Thompson would have a really good save on Robo, and for the first 10 minutes of the third period, Thompson was really, really, really outstanding for the Golden Knights. Here's another Raffle hit on Pacioretty. That's the hip check that we were talking about earlier. And Glendening with a big hit as well right after that. So lots of boys banging the bodies good. Klinger with a shot. It was a great save by Logan Thompson there. And about 8 minutes, 10 seconds remaining in the third, Vegas would get a 2-on-1 that was really very dangerous. And we didn't notice this until it came back from the commercial break, Chris. But Carlson missed, and it was a great pass by Evgeny Dodonov. It was a great pass. But what we didn't see what happened is, in fact, it went 5-hole, bounced and hit Otter, and then went out the other side. That could have been a very huge, big game-changing thing if that had gone in. Now, how could you look at that? Could you look at that and say, okay, Otter got a piece of it and he kept it out, or is that just pure dumb luck, in the words of Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter?
I'll give it 50-50 because he got over there and he was in position and the puck hit him and deflected away. Yeah. That sounds like his job description. But it did go for a hole and it did go through the crease, so we'll give it 50-50.
Yeah. It's something that Razor said right after they mentioned it too. It's like, You got to be lucky to be good. That's part of being a goaltender. Yep. You got to get lucky.
And you got to be good to be lucky.
Yep.
Goes back both ways. Brady McNabb would have a really good defensive play. It almost was a 3-on-1 for the Stars, but he is able to keep it out and keep it out of his own zone. Otter had, and this is where it's a series of just Otter here. Otter with a giant save on Stevenson. Logan Thompson would have a giant save on Rope Hintz. Ben would have a giant hit on Carlson. Just lots of big things happening here in the last 7 minutes of the period. Otter with a windmill save on Shea Theodore, who looked like he was going to be able to go backhand and go top shelf. And then something stupid happened, which Chris and I both agreed on this. Hintz and Eichel go to the box for matching minors for roughing. And I think Razor said it best. Razor said it best. You're taking the two most offensively gifted guys on both teams, and you're taking them off the ice for the last 2 minutes of the game, possibly? That's not really smart if you're, as a ref, thinking about the quality of the game. You want those players to be on the ice.
And it's needless, too. And it goes against the way that he called the entire game because there was only 2 power plays, and okay, we'll just add two more penalty minutes at the end for each team, which is ridiculous. And I'm gonna get some flack for this, but it's Wes McCauley, if you're wondering who made that call. And I know he's funny and does funny stuff sometimes, but he likes attention. If you go and watch some of the games he does, he will call penalties late in games because he likes the attention and he likes making a difference. And he did it again tonight. I don't like him. I do not like when Wes McCauley officiates games.
The craziest thing for me was that they called it. They made it 4-on-4, and this game could decide either team's season if it's won in regulation. Like, I mean, if the Stars lose this in regulation, we have to win our next 2 games, and even then, we have to hope that Vegas loses something. And if we win in regulation, Vegas is out completely. It's such a dumb call. It's so awful, especially for just the game as a whole. The regulation win was so important.
Yeah, and it's blown out because no one plays 4-on-4 anymore. It doesn't happen. Yeah. Like, there's no overtime 4-on-4. So, I mean, it was just a waste of 2 minutes, and it just killed the drama of trying to clinch.
And not only did it kill the drama of trying to clinch, it also killed the momentum of the Stars, because after that point, it was almost all Vegas for that last 2.5 minutes. I mean, they were getting chance after chance, and Otter was just there. And there were a couple of opportunities that I was like, how the heck did that not go in? And I mean, several chances. So then all I wrote for the last 2 minutes was, and I wrote this 3 times. I'm not joking, 3 times. Otter stands tall. Logan Thompson stood tall through most of the game. And that last 10 minutes, especially of the third period, Otter stood tall and he stood his ground and did not allow any more goals in behind him.
And this is what gets us so excited, because this is his biggest moment of the whole season. And he's a young goaltender too. He hasn't had a game like this where it's so big that if they lose, they're probably not going to even make it into the playoffs. And a lot of goaltenders would shy away from this. And he's even bigger than you could imagine. I mean,
he plays his best hockey.
Yeah. Our defense essentially breaks down late in the third there, and he's he's stopping all of them for him. I mean, if another team's looking at him like that's terrifying.
Yeah. You don't want to face a goalie who can do that.
Well, anyways, guys, we would go to overtime after it's undecided after 60 minutes. In the overtime, that was the most fun I've had all season, watching both goalies do their thing. Yeah. The chances for both teams. I mean, you could just watch the overtime period and be completely entertained just with those 5 minutes. It was fantastic. And again, I got to give it to him. Logan Thompson with the giant save on Rope Hintz there on a breakaway. That was the biggest chance of the overtime. Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable that Rope doesn't score there. And it was a good shot, too. It was just a better save.
Anyways, we would go to a shootout, which is unfortunate that the game has to end this way, but nonetheless it does. It would go 7 rounds. Here's the players who would miss. Round 1, Eichel and Robo would both miss. Round 2, Sagan and Shea Theodore would miss. Pavelski and Waugh would miss in the 3rd round. 4th round, Hintz and Stevenson would both miss. And then the really questioning selection here, Chris, go ahead.
Radek Faksa gets the next chance. He's your number 5 best shootout chance? That's incorrect. I can think of like 4 guys who are better than him. Heiskanen, Ben, Peterson, who you healthy scratched tonight.
Right,
honestly,
Peterson.
I would honestly take the rookie. I would take Karlstrom over Faksa. And you know what Faksa did with his shining moment? He skated forward and he took a wrist shot. That's asinine.
So, and then Jonathan Marchessault would almost be Otter. He clanks off the post. Otter says thank you to his post. He kisses it. He rubs it for good luck, and it would go to the 6th round. Nemesnikov and Dodonov would both miss in the 6th round. And then finally, we see Miro Heiskanen, who we know is a clutch player. He should have been out there probably after Hintz, if not before Hintz, even.
Honestly, having Heiskanen in the top 3 on your shootout trio should be a thing. Like, not even joking. He's that good with the puck.
I didn't mind the 3 choices by
I didn't mind them,
bonus
but
in the first 3. No, I did not like the Fox choice, and then Nemestikov, I was kind of like, okay, maybe. But the fact that Miro was not before both of those guys is questioning to me. So it should have been Miro to begin with.
Another mismanaged
there, if you ask us. And then William Karlsson for the Vegas Golden Knights. Jay Gottinger would make the save, and then Chris and I both freak out on the internet, as you know, hundreds of people who watched us tonight. Hundreds of people who watched us tonight watch us, and then Vegas loses. Stars get the win, 3-2. It's good that we got the win. It's unfortunate for the game of hockey that it ended the way that it did in the shootout. That's just my opinion. I hope they change it.
I don't know. There's nothing to change. I don't think. We've already talked about that. Let's not get into that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true.
Huge win for the Stars. They break their history of losing big regular season games at home. They did what they had to do. We said they had to win. They won. They did their job. And now they need to finish it off tomorrow. I don't even want to win. I will take a 1-point loss. Be a good
Coyotes.
loser. I don't care. I would be happy with it.
Oh, man.
I just want to get in.
James, what you looking at over there? You look like you're looking something up.
I was trying to find the comment that they were talking about Peterson playing instead of Kiwi and whoever. I forgot. They were having a conversation back there, and they were talking about Peterson not being in the lineup. And honestly, I really think Peterson's hurt.
That would make sense because he hasn't played all that great lately.
Yeah, and I really don't see – there's no reason why he shouldn't be playing in Kiwi's spot tonight if he isn't hurt, because Kiwi didn't – it makes sense to play Kiwi if he's playing with Foxa and Glendening, because Kiwi is a little bit more physical. He's more physical than Peterson is. Like, that's just – that's fact.
True.
Yeah.
So I get that if Kiwi Ranta is going to play with Foxa and Glendening, but by the end of the night, he's not playing with them, right?
It was abandoned immediately.
Yeah.
So almost immediately, yeah.
Yeah. So I do not see why he wouldn't play tonight otherwise. And he hasn't played in a couple of games. I really think he's hurt.
And they talked about earlier in the season how he was tired and hasn't played a full NHL schedule. The most games he's played in the season was like 40 or something. So maybe tired is a little bit more than tired. So
I really
be hurt but not injured and can't play through it.
Yeah. I really hope not, and we get to use him in the playoffs, because if we're able to make it to the playoffs, we are going to pretty much use everyone. I feel like that's the reason why Harley's been playing recently too over Hanley. Because Hanley hasn't played bad, but you need him you need Harley to. He's shown that he kind of needs a couple of games to get back up to speed in the NHL. So you're trying to get other people time on ice so that if you make it into the playoffs, you can use everyone in your depth. So yeah. I really hope he's not hurt, but it really looks that way to me.
And as an old team, we're going to need the depth. You're definitely right, James. That's all I got, Ryan. Anything else?
That's it, you guys. I can't think of anything else, Chris. James, you got anything else? Tomorrow night?
I don't remember the time.
Tomorrow night, we play the Coyotes, and we need a point.
Please.
For everything that is good and whole and lovely in the world, Dallas Stars, please give us 1 point.
Please,
like
don't make
we said,
we
don't even care. I won't even care if we lose in overtime or in the shootout to the Phoenix Coyotes. I just want the 1 point. I'm like crying here, please, on my knees, begging, please. So,
same time tomorrow, 7:30 at home. Finish it, please. It's a back-to-back at home. Like, they're going home to their own beds. You should be fine. You're fine. Skate, please.
Let's go.
Finish it off.
Let's go. Playoffs, baby. Come on. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here tonight. Thank you guys for watching along. This has been the after-game review for game number 80. Stars win in a shootout with a final score of 3-2 over the Vegas Golden Knights. The Dallas Stars get closer to the playoffs. The magic number is 1 now. Getting into that, Chris. I see it. Or James, I'm getting into it. I see it. Thank you guys. By the way, I saw at the beginning of this stream, thank you guys for wearing your Sarcastic Mark shirt underneath your jersey or even wearing it to the game. We really appreciate that. We won. So wear it again and we'll win tomorrow night, right? That only makes sense.
Good luck,
right?
Shirts. Sounds right to me.
See, I've even got mine underneath my jersey as well. So Chris is wearing
double.
His. James
is hugging his like a blanket. I can tell.
Yeah.
Right, James?
It's in my lap.
It's in his lap.
I'm using it as a blanket tonight.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll shamelessly put in the plug about please go and check out StarcasticRemarksShop.com for all of your merch needs from the Dallas Stars. Starcastic Remarks podcast. Please go and check that out. We released our first phase. That's the best and most direct way to support us and what we do here. I'm hoping if we make the playoffs that we can do some sort of special event, and I'll talk about that as we go on. Hopefully, we had plans for this around Christmas, and then Christmas kind of screwed things up with the COVID shutdown. So we'll see what happens, but
we'll talk about that when we make the playoffs.
Yes, that too. Along with Chris and James, thank you guys for tuning along. My name's Ryan. We'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good evening.
Boys.
Have a good evening, morning, afternoon, whenever you're listening. Bye, guys.